So ladies and gentlemen, to tell us more and to delve deeper into this fantastic topic, we are honored to have with us here today Pankaj Krishna, the visionary founder and CEO of Chrome Data Analytics and Media. So please join us on stage. We look forward to hearing from you. Welcome, sir.
Hi, thanks. It's connected? Wow, thanks. Hi. I'm audible, I believe, right? So, thank you, Tapan, for having me over. So, I think one of the worst presentations you can go through is from a data guy because it's flooded with numbers, right? It gets really terrible. But I'll try and make it interesting, and we'll try and talk more about data, but with some real life examples, right? So, between the two notes, can you see any difference which is the real or the fake one? So, you can raise your hands if you see any difference on a counterfeit versus a real one. So, I think that's the $100 has got a lot of attention. People have stopped talking to each other. But do you see any difference between the notes? A or B? A? A or B? Okay, besides that, which one is fake? Would you know that? No, you wouldn't. Okay, so we've got some merchandise, some very expensive merchandise, which I've asked my colleague Vikram, and I've got Prasad here. Rishabh, if you could note down the names of the winners, so we'll just announce some. So A or B, any votes? Which is a counterfeit? B. Okay, so, okay, this looks a little more similar. Between this one, A or B? Okay, what's your name? You can note down his name here. Rishabh, you want to do the... So, at the end, we'll give you some very expensive merchandise, some pens and some keychains, right? So, but I'll give you the answer. It's in the next slide. I hope it works. I don't know, right? They're actually just prints from the net. And the reason I brought this up is because every time there is a currency, there is a scope for counterfeit. And that's exactly what happens. Every time there's a currency, people tend to duplicate. And when it comes to media measurement, there are currencies. So if you buy television, if you buy Republic, there's a currency where you gauge the TRPs of content. If you buy print, advertising on print, there's a currency. For radio, there's a currency. For digital, there are currencies, but then there are bots, you know, where people tend to rig or inflate their numbers. So the point here is every time there is a currency, there is a scope for counterfeit. And the challenge of technology is to try and limit that gap. And that's what we'll try to do. If you look at India as a market, so India is a logistical nightmare. We are almost 145 crores now, which is 142 million people with cable operators. So this entire technology of watching TV comes through cable operators. You will have a Tata Sky or a Hathway connection at home. That's for television, right? You've got 53,000 last mile operators. So that's the number of operators through which a channel comes to your house. You've got almost 1,300 TV channels, 28 states, and it's a huge, huge population. 936 million internet users in India. That's one of the largest in the world. That's a huge, huge market. So measuring audience consumption becomes even more challenging at this point in time. And what we do at Chrome DM is precisely that. So we do audience measurement for TV, we do audience measurement for digital streams. So if you're watching a Republic, and that's the example I'll constantly keep using for obvious reasons here, but if you're watching Republic, you would probably watch it on a Tata Sky or a Hathway, or you could watch it digitally, the same feed live. And we measure all of that. That's the infrastructure. So at this point in time, there are some 6 lakh villages in India which get measured of who's watching what for TV, for live streams, or for brand consumption. And you've got 3,300 towns that we measure. That's the infrastructure, which is not too relevant. But we will talk about 4 aspects. Traditional media, which is TV through cable and satellite. New media is again television or OTT, like you got a Netflix or a Hotstar, which is consumed through the net over the top. You've got media research, which is media consumption habits, and brand audit. So these are the 4 sections to the entire thing. The challenge is, now this is very technical, so I'll skip through this patch. Anyone here is a media planner or a buyer? No, right? You will get a prize for that as well. You can say yes or no. No, okay. So what's your name? You don't have to notice now, that's okay. So one biggest challenge that you face in anything called a panel measurement is a sampling aberration. So whenever you have 100,000 people represented by 2 or 3, there will be sampling aberration. So that's one challenge that you face in measurement today. MDUs I'll skip. Landing page is something which I think Tapan you'll resonate with, but in the broadcasting medium today, you can actually force viewing. So every time you switch on a channel on your cable network, you can actually be exposed to any particular channel for a minute or two, which would inflate the viewing, right? So that's called a landing page bit. Watermark, again technical I skip, but one big problem that any form of measurement faces is upper socioeconomic classes. So any one of you sitting here today will not install a device on your phones, on your TVs, or an application on your phone for a couple of ₹100 a month and allow someone to track your viewing consumption. As a result of which, upper socioeconomic classes tend to suffer. And most audience measurement is done across the lower stratas of society who are happy to receive a gratification of a few ₹100. So that's why most research would limit to upper SECs. Now, how do we lead that change? This slide is interesting. So before we come to this slide, but let me explain the concept of news, which is very important, is when it comes to news, and I've taken an example of news, it is fair to say that most channels are pretty much, to a great extent, giving you the same news, right? So we are talking about what's happening, if it's an exit poll, if it's the election. But the change, how do you define which channel is outperforming the other? In most cases, that is a function of the distribution of how many homes the channel reaches. And that is one key parameter that is taken by broadcasters today to understand which channel does best. And to give you an example, these are the top 5. I've taken English news consciously. You can do cuts for English news, Hindi news, Marathi, or entertainment, anything. But for an example, we've taken English news. As we speak today, the pecking order of availability of content is what it shows here. So Republic, for example, reaches 90% of homes, which basically means everyone who has a cable and satellite connection, 9 out of 10 people get access to Republic. The leader here is Sunset TV. That could also be owing to the fact that it's a government mandate to carry certain channels. So that's the pecking order of content. But this is, to a great extent, strongly indicative of how well content is being consumed. That's what the entire thing is about. What is very important and what tech does is across all the cable operators and all forms of delivery, there are changes that happen in terms of packages, LCNs, availability, non-availability, and you record almost 169,030 changes last week that happened on ground. Now we use technology to try and map how that changes happen, and there is technology which gives you all kinds of details. So I won't delve into the details of this one. We'll quickly wrap up, but you have access to everything on distribution. This is the back end of technology, which is basically a box installed in the panel homes which tells you what all content is available. That automatically goes into the servers from which everything comes out: language, sound, audio quality, what's available, not available, lineup, LCNs, everything comes out. These are all back-end slides of how the images comes out. That's for the traditional media. Moving on to new media is actually very interesting. That's all digital, which you call OTT, which you all consume, I believe, right? And what new media does, and how do we measure that, is basically you've got a live source of content. So what is happening right now is being fingerprinted somewhere. So everything that is going on here is being fingerprinted. So you know if Aaj Tak or a Republic is airing certain content, that gets fingerprinted. And parallelly, when it's being consumed on a mobile device or a connected TV, the fingerprinting tells you exactly what is being consumed. So the advantage of digital is it happens in real time. And in real time, you know the exact consumption of content. And once all the tagging happens, the same thing happens for advertising. So during the counting day, the numbers spike to 100 million at peak concurrent views. Like that's the global highest ever recorded. That's 100 million people watching one particular news stream at the same time. It can't get bigger than news and cricket at this point in time. So that's how the technology does all of that. And you've got huge amount of analytics, who's watching, demographics, market, size, city, everything comes in live on this one. Okay, so this is interesting. So Rishabh, you want to note this down. So you want to note down some prizes, right? So top 3 shows as a function of this output of data, right? So I'll give you the top 3 and then you can pick up the top 2. But the biggest shows that were consumed on OTT, new media. So the top 5 of last year was Asur season 2. You've seen Asur, anyone? Okay, you have, right? So you know prizes for that, but you get the first and the second one. Taza Khabar, Tali. Any guesses on the second biggest show of 2023? You can raise your hands. Okay, the last show. The hint is this is very similar to where I started the first slide from. The biggest show of 2023. Raise your hands. Raise your hands. It's close to that. It's not the money heist, but it's about money. It's Farzi, right? But you can, Rishabh, you can give him a pen. You can note it down. So, right? So 53 million people watched Farzi as a unique example. This all new media, and all this data is all generated automatically. This is all data generated through auto panels. We have one more interesting top 5 shows of the last quarter. We just started quarter 3, right? So Q2 ends in April, May, June. So top 5, Disney Hotstar has got ICC World Cup, Netflix, The Great Indian Couple Show, which is doing now well, with about 28 million. Panchayat season 3 got 28 million people who watched that show. ICC Men's T20 World Cup, 148 million. Okay, so that's a big one. So there's a keychain for this one. You want to guess the first one? You've already got the prize. IPL, anything else? Any number for IPL? 345 million. So Rishabh, you can take your colleague's number or name, whatever, right? So that's the biggest show that went. This is all big data of how technology plays. Top 5 shows of last week. Good luck at number 5, number 4 Kota Factory, number 3 Illegal, number 2. Anyone on this side? Last week, biggest shows on TV, on OTT. Who said Panchayat? Okay, you can write down your name, Rishabh. You said it first. You can okay, who's got the first one for the first one? What, that's your name? Sharad. Okay. So I think the first one is ICC T20 on Disney plus Hotstar at 88 million. The beauty of this data is all real time. And the reason I'm sharing this is it facilitates advertisers to decide on their marketing spends. That's broadly what it is. The same data can also be used to generate the consumption of news. Since this is a Republic initiative, we've taken some slides on Republic. And Republic Bangla is amongst, if you look at the consumption of news streams, the same channels that you watch through cable and satellite, if you watch them digitally, which is, there are 3 mediums of digital, right? So there is, you watch them on a desktop, or you watch them on a mobile phone, or a connected TV. Similarly, when they come to applications, you watch them either on a native application or on YouTube or some third-party application. If you take the aggregate of 3, when it comes to Bangla, the top 3 Bangla news streams in India, as we speak for the latest weeks, are ABP Ananda, Republic Bangla, and News 18. These are the top in the same pecking order. But the idea is not to rank or rate them, but it tells you, it helps advertisers which are currently using this data to decide on their marketing spends. And if you exclude YouTube, these are the numbers, but YouTube is a big player. So you've got 155, if I take Republic Bangla, you've got 110 million, and if you remove YouTube, you'll have 0.3. So that's about 0.8 million coming unique viewers. These are not the total views. These are total individual unique viewers that come out of this. Everything is moving to connected TVs. No one watches the big CRTs now. It's all connected TVs connected to the internet. The numbers at this point in time are almost 70 million. What is interesting to know is how it gets consumed. And a lot of connected TVs are today being used through Wi-Fi hotspots. So people use their mobile phone and the hotspot on that phone to watch TV on their smart TV or a connected TV. That's almost 80% hotspot and a Wi-Fi. And then you've got smart boxes and kernel device. That's broadly what it is, all tech enabled. Media research happens real time. But one more important thing in terms of media measurement is, besides going with existing currencies, it is very important to always gauge what is happening real time. As we speak, a currency might declare something else. You might think that the $100 note A is fake and B is correct, but the reality might be completely otherwise. So when you conduct media research, you come to know what is the preferred time. So preferred time for television, the current trends, 12 to 6 is mostly a female-dominated time band, and 8 to 10 p.m. is male. So there are tons of research that goes around this. newspaper read, which are the best read newspapers across the country, and they keep changing over months, but there are currencies, but parallelly there are surveys, and there are technologies that are used to gauge the consumption of content. Newspaper ad placement, this is very interesting what works. So when you advertise, of course there's a huge amount of cost involved in advertising, but front page ads are the ones that work the maximum, followed with cover ads, pamphlets, or front page or back page. Now if you're again media measurement, it just helps you decide what's working on that one. Radio stations access, everything, it goes on and on. Social media platforms, practically everyone who's got some kind of a social media is YouTube leads, followed with Facebook, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram, Snapchat. So whoever is interested can get a copy from Vikram Gerald, but it has tons of data of how media is consumed across devices. Mobile internet, top 3 activities done on the mobile internet, 96% is WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram. I believe everyone's on WhatsApp. Everyone, like businesses are running on WhatsApp, WhatsApp groups, everything is on WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, and that's the internet thing. Applications, travel applications, you got Ola, Uber, Rapido as advertising, big advertising opportunities. Zomato makes huge tons of money on advertising besides delivering food. So all that comes out of the data, which all of this data is now generated from the same applications that are installed on mobile phones and connected TVs, which completely track what is happening and what is being used. So that's exactly what comes out of this. That's broadly what it is. Brand audits, real time, won't be too relevant, but that's broadly what it is. And I think that's about it. That's broadly. It's all tech which tells you real time what is being consumed. For example, political parties use a lot of technology now to understand how well their campaigns are running, right? How audiences, how voters are resonating to their practices. And I know for the last election, because we worked with one of the leading parties, but they were tracking real time and they were constantly updating their advertising strategies. What message to go out, what communication to go out, and that's all tech based. And this does not only limit itself to television and internet, even outdoors, right? The outdoor branding, hoarding was very dynamic, and that's how technology is helping it. That's all part of this, and yeah, so that's the last slide. So that's actually very important. So that's close to me. Do sleep on time, don't drink too much, go back home, get good sleep. Thank you guys.